Dear brothers and sisters, peace be with you. Sometimes the night feels long. A silence grows in our hearts, and we wonder if anyone hears. We look around and see a world filled with noise and shadows. Families torn by conflict, young people feeling lost, the elderly forgotten, the poor pushed aside. And in our own souls, too, we sometimes carry a quiet darkness of fear or doubt or sorrow we cannot name. But I want to begin by telling you something very simple and very true. Even in that darkness, God's light is already shining for you. Yes, for you. Not just for the saints or the strong, for the tired mother, for the refugee, for the lonely, for the sinner, for the one who thinks they've gone too far to come home. Let us take a moment. Silence. Let us allow this truth to settle into our hearts. God's light is not a spotlight to expose you. It is a warm lamp to guide you. It is not the fire of judgment, but the fire of love that never goes out. Sometimes we think that to see God's light, we must be in grand places, cathedrals of marble, silent mountains, or moments of triumph. But God does not wait for the stage to be set. He enters through the cracks. He comes quietly, like morning light through the shutters, reaching into the corners where we think no one sees. And often it is in the smallest, poorest places that His light shines the brightest. I remember meeting an old woman who lived alone in a forgotten neighborhood on the edge of a city. Her home was no more than a fragile shelter patched with tin and plastic. She had no electricity, and her hands bore the marks of a lifetime of labor. Yet when I entered, she greeted me with a smile that warmed the room more than any light bulb could. God visits me each morning, she said, pointing to a small picture of the Sacred Heart taped to her wall. He always finds me here. That is the mystery of grace. The world saw poverty, but heaven saw sanctuary. Jesus was born not in a palace, but in a stable. He chose the manger, the hay, the lowliest place to reveal the glory of God. This is not by accident. It is a pattern. He comes to the shepherds in the night, to the blind man by the road, to the woman who weeps alone at the well. He comes where love is needed most. And so we must ask ourselves, where do we look for God's light? Are we waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect feeling, the perfect version of ourselves? Or can we begin right now, where we are, in the kitchen, in the hospital room, in the alley behind our work, in the silence of our own restless hearts? God's light does not wait for greatness. It comes into our smallness, into our routine, into our struggle, into our poverty, material or spiritual. and says, "Here I am. I have not forgotten you." Let us not be afraid of our smallness. Let us not despise what the world considers unworthy, because in the eyes of God, the smallest act of love is radiant. A mother's warm hands, a whispered prayer by a tired worker, a meal shared when there is barely enough. These are the sparks of holiness that light the world. So today, begin there. Begin in the small things. Welcome God's light in the hidden places of your life. And then be that light, gently, quietly, but with great love for someone else. You do not need to shine brightly. You only need to shine faithfully. God will do the rest. There are moments in life when everything seems to fall apart, when the road ahead disappears into fog, and all we can feel is the weight of the unknown pressing upon our hearts. In those moments of grief, of failure, of loneliness, of illness, we may be tempted to believe that we are forgotten, that the darkness is final, but it is not so. In the story of God, darkness is never the last word. It is often where the journey truly begins. The disciples were caught in the storm, terrified as the waves rose around them and the wind howled. And yet, it was in the storm that they saw him walking on the water. Not before it, not after it, but in the middle of it. Take heart, it is I. Do not be afraid. His voice broke through the chaos. So too, in our lives, God often reveals himself in the very place where we thought he had vanished. I think of the migrant child who sleeps on the floor of a crowded shelter, her eyes wide with fear, and yet clutching a worn teddy bear with tender hope. I think of the father who has lost his job and kneels beside his bed in silence, not knowing what to pray, but still trusting enough to bend his knees. These are moments that feel like endings, but in God's hands, they become beginnings. Jesus himself passed through darkness. The cross was not the final chapter. The stone was rolled away, not with noise, but with dawn. And so we must learn to trust the silence, to walk by faith and not by sight. We must let the darkness speak, not to overwhelm us, but to teach us. Because it is there that we are emptied, so God can fill. It is there that we are still, so God can speak. It is there that we let go, so God can take our hand. Do not be afraid of the night. Do not flee from your pain or pretend it is not there. Let it become your prayer. Let it become your path. Let it become your offering. And when you see someone else in that same dark darkness, do not rush to fix them. Sit with them. Listen. Stay. Let your presence become the candle that flickers, not with answers, but with love. The journey begins in darkness, but the light is already on its way. Trust that it will come. And until then, walk gently, love deeply, and carry hope like a lantern, one step at a time. There is a light that does not come from the sky, but from the heart. It is the light that shines when we love one another, when we carry each other's burdens, when we do not look away from pain, but lean toward it with compassion. In a world that can feel so divided, so hurried, so indifferent, this light is urgent. It is needed. And each one of us carries within the possibility to be that light for someone else. I have met many who walk through life unnoticed. An elderly man on a park bench, watching people pass by without a greeting. A teenager sitting at the back of a church, unsure if he belongs. A woman in a shelter who hasn't heard her name, spoken with kindness in years. These are the hidden ones. But Jesus sees them. Jesus stops for them. He always stops for the one who feels unseen, and he invites us to do the same. We are not asked to be heroes. We are asked to be present. Sometimes all it takes is a gesture, a phone call, a smile, a shared meal. Sometimes it is simply sitting beside someone in silence, saying with your presence, "You are not alone." This is the gospel made flesh, not in grand speeches, but in daily acts of mercy. And yet, how often we pass by, how often we say, someone else will help. But love cannot be outsourced. The poor cannot wait for our schedules to clear. Those who are grieving cannot wait until we feel ready. The time to love is now. The time to forgive is now. The time to reach out is now. If you have light in your heart, even just a little, let it shine, not to be admired, but to guide, not to boast, but to bless, because someone near you is stumbling in the dark. Someone near you is praying for a sign, and your kindness may be the answer to their prayer. So let us live with open eyes and open hands. Let us choose compassion again and again, even when it's inconvenient, even when it costs us something. For every time we choose love, we choose light. And in that light, others may find their way back to hope, to dignity, to God. Walk gently, but do not walk away. Let your life be a candle in someone else's night. Let love lead you. Let love light the path. The world often tells us where to look for beauty, for success, for wisdom. It points to those who are powerful, wealthy, admired. But the gospel teaches us something altogether different. The gospel tells us to look down, to look around, to look into the eyes of the poor, the sick, the forgotten, because it is there, right there, that the light of God is most alive. I once visited a home for people with disabilities, tucked away on the edge of a busy city. There was a young man there who could not speak, could not walk, could not do anything the world would call productive. But when he smiled, it was as though heaven had opened for a moment. There was no pretense in him, no ambition, no disguise, only the purity of being loved and of loving in return. That smile, born from a fragile body, carried a strength greater than many sermons. It was light. We must learn to see differently. Jesus came to us not with robes or riches, but with bare feet and calloused hands. He was born among the poor, walked with the outcast, touched the leper, dined with sinners. He turned our eyes toward those we too often ignore. What you did for the least of these, he said, you did for me. This is not just a teaching. It is a way of life. It is the way of light. The poor are not objects of our charity. They are the ones who reveal Christ to us. When we draw near to them, we draw near to Him. When we sit beside the suffering, we are sitting on holy ground. And when we serve with tenderness, not from above, but alongside, we allow their dignity to teach us our own. Do not be afraid of the poor. Do not keep your distance from those who suffer. Let your heart be touched. Let your plans be interrupted. Let your life be stretched by the needs of others, because it is in these encounters, often unplanned and uncomfortable, that we meet Jesus, not as an idea, but as a person. And He comes to us poor so that we might become rich in mercy. So let us go to them. Let us listen to them. Let us love them, not as a duty, but as a privilege. For in their wounds, we see the wounds of Christ. And in their eyes, we see the light of God. There is a light that not only guides us, it transforms us. But for it to change us, we must let it in. Not just into the parts of our lives we are proud of, but into the places we would rather hide, into the wounds, into the shame, into the fears we have carried for too long. This is where the light of God wants to dwell, not to condemn, but to heal. So often we are afraid of being seen, afraid that if people really knew us, they would turn away. And sometimes we think God might do the same, but Jesus does not turn away. He does not recoil from our mess or our weakness. He bends down. He touches the leper. He weeps with the grieving. He walks with the sinner, not behind them in judgment, but beside them in mercy. The light of Christ is not harsh. It is not the kind of light that blinds or burns. It is the soft, steady flame that warms the heart and gives us the courage to begin again and again. But we must allow ourselves to be seen. We must be brave enough to be vulnerable before God, to say, "Here I am, Lord, not who I pretend to be, just me." And when we do this, something beautiful, because we are changed not into someone else, but into our true selves, the self that God has loved all along. This change is not just for our comfort, it is for the world. Because when we are healed, when we are forgiven, when we are filled with light, we become bearers of that light. Not perfect, but real. Not flawless, but faithful. Our lives become signs of hope for others, especially those who still walk in darkness. So I say this gently, but clearly: let yourself be loved. Let yourself be changed. Open the window of your heart and let the light in. Not once, but each day. And then carry that light with you into your family, into your work, into the streets, the prisons, the schools, the shelters. Carry it wherever love is needed, because the world does not need more noise. It needs more light, and that light begins in the soul that dares to be transformed by love. My dear brothers and sisters, we have spoken of darkness and we have spoken of light. We have remembered that even in the deepest night, the flame of God's love still burns quietly, tenderly, faithfully. That light is for you. It is not far off. It is not reserved for the holy or the strong. It is for the weary, the broken, the searching. It is for you. But now the question remains, will you welcome it? Will you trust it enough to open your heart, to take that next step of love, of mercy, of courage? The path will not always be easy. There will still be moments of doubt, days when shadows return, but you will not walk alone. Christ walks with you, and in you others will see his light. So let us go now, not in fear, but in faith go as people who believe in the quiet power of love. Let us go as people who are ready to bring warmth to a cold world, peace to anxious hearts, and hope to places forgotten by many, but never forgotten by God. You are not too small. You are not too late. Begin again with love. Begin again with light. Good luck on your journey. May your life shine brightly with compassion, with courage, and with joy. And from the depths of my heart, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for opening your heart. And thank you for being willing to carry the light forward. The world is waiting. Let us go together. Amen.